Thank you for the 170 bits, Cryptic. Appreciate it. Stream is starting soon. The hosts are just talking stuff, so we start soon. I'm not going to be doing much talking, though, because I got a lot of background noise, and I don't want to ruin the professionalness of the stream. So I'm going to mostly be muted for the majority of the time. But, yeah. Oh, the points. Whatever. Well, thank you anyways. You highlighted your little message or whatever. Can you join your gold? No, sorry. I think the cutoff is at diamond. So if you want to grind your way there, then we can let you in. If you're diamond though. I would play music, but that means I would have to unmute my PC audio, and that would unmute Discord audio and stuff. But we're gonna start like very very soon, like super soon. Again, our hosts are just sorting stuff out and talking about what we're going over and all. So yeah. Also, thank you Walrus for the pog bits. There we go, attaboy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, all of you viewers in chat, we are officially starting the first episode of MPC Overtime. I am Octo. I'm not going to be doing much talking today because I am going to be doing mostly stream management. I got a bunch of background noise and stuff, so I'm going to be taking more of a backseat this episode, but let me go ahead and segue this to my other three guests that we have here today. If you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves.
I'll go first. Viper, obviously. You guys have heard my voice before. I co-own the league with Octo. And yeah, so I'm really excited to be doing this again. I'm hoping we can make this a weekly thing, so I'm just excited to be back on the mic. So.
Alrighty, and for you guys should know me by now. If not, my name is Blue. I'm your player representative. And I'm very happy to be here on the first ever overtime of the season.
Hi, my name's Relic. Most of you can just address me by Ken. I'm your rules keeper. If anybody has any issues, just shoot me a message. I'll be happy to look into it.
Nice. All right. Good job, guys. We did it.
Yeah,
we got the introductions out of the way.
Yeah, I got through that part getting unscuffed.
So we're going to go over a little bit because I know a lot of you guys are new. So you've never really seen something like this before, so we'll kind of give a brief overview of how this kind of thing is going to work. So basically this is kind of like a podcast, kind of like a talk show. It's something in the middle, really. It's something we're going to do weekly, we hope. I'm praying to God that we can actually do it weekly this year, or this season, sorry, because it's something I really enjoy doing, but it's a lot of work on our end. It's a lot of work to do, so we are definitely going to ask you guys for help. We want to have guests on the show. That's not limited to managers, players, coaches, everything in between. We'd love to bring on the show and have you guys talk because, you guys are on the front lines. You guys know what's happening in scrims and stuff like that. We only know so much. So this is definitely going to be a community effort every week to put together. And this is definitely there's obviously a level of professionalism with this, but this is going to be much more casual. It's not really going to be super, super serious or anything like that. So just to kind of get those expectations out there, just so people understand exactly what's, what this is supposed to be, what it's not supposed to be. So, yeah, I guess we should go over what we're going to talk about today. So we basically have 4 big topics. So first of all, we're going to talk about preseason power rankings, that form that all of you put together. We're going to talk about that. And then after that, we're going to go into draft winners and losers. So this is going to be kind of talking about, obviously we know that winning and losing a draft is very subjective, right? That's all up for debate. So we're going to talk about that for a little bit. And then upcoming this week, as you guys all know, matches start on Friday, 8 p.m. EST. We are super excited that we finally get the season underway. So we're going to talk about all the matches, go over predictions and stuff like that. And then finally, at the end, we're going to take questions from you guys in chat just to, get us, more talking points, stuff like that. So I guess first, let's talk about the preseason power rankings. So obviously, you guys filled it out too. We finally saw the results. Did anything really surprise you?
Do you want me to reveal it? I can pop it up on stream right now.
Yeah.
Or do you want to keep them waiting a little bit and kind of preface it a little bit?
I think, because you're going to show the sheet that we saw, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, to preface you guys, we divided it into staff rankings, manager rankings, and I believe general public rankings, if I'm correct.
Yes, correct.
Mm-hmm.
So so if you look at the screen and it doesn't exactly look like you think it does, don't worry. It goes public and then managers and then staff, I believe.
It's staff and then public and then managers.
Oh, staff. Okay, yeah. So we'll go through all 3 of those, and we'll kind of just walk our way through it. So you can go ahead and show them.
All right, let me go ahead and pull it up. This is our first peek. This first page is our staff vote. Only 3 of our staff members voted, so this is a very very small pool. So don't take this too to heart. But yeah, it should be on stream now.
Yeah. So
there we go.
Talking about, obviously, we don't have that much to go on. So to be honest, don't really take any of this to heart. This is literally just going off of things that we might know from past players or anything like that. However, one trend you'll notice is that the Sharks start in first. Because I know I filled it out and I put the Sharks in first. So I'll kind of explain why I did that. So obviously we have 2 returning champs from last season, so I have a lot of faith in them to do well, and so that was my reasoning. But I don't know about anyone else who put them in first, so I'll let you guys talk.
I actually didn't get a chance to vote on it. I've been busy with work and everything, so haven't really had much time. But I personally would have put the Sharks in first as well for the same reason that they have 2 champions that are coming back from last season. I think they have a strong team, and I think they're going to do great things this season.
All right, what about you, Blue? What you thinking?
Well,
'Cause
obviously,
I know we talked about it earlier.
Yeah, so obviously I put the Sharks at first as well because, like you guys said, there's 2 returning champs from last season coming into the scene, and it's just like they already have the synergy together. I don't know if they've been playing like off season or anything like that, but if they have, that just makes it a lot stronger. And I just, from the season we saw last year, it was really convincing how bad they wanted it. Like, I don't know if you guys like were as into it as I was, but those were some top-notch games.
Sorry, I just had a huge bolt of thunder. I just heard a huge crash of thunder behind me, and it scared the absolute crap out of me, so I apologize.
It is all okay.
But yeah, I think we obviously, like, you can hear that, like, all of us kind of have the same, I guess, mental or like train of thought about why we put the Sharks in first. So now I know everyone, or I already saw it in chat. Okay, Seattle Orbit at second. So I know, obviously, like I said, we don't really have that much to go on. So really take this with a grain of salt. We might update this as the season progresses, but as you know, literally all we have to go off of is like picks and ranks of players. So pretty much nothing. If last season taught us anything, like, yeah, in the first couple of weeks, like, we can talk about this more when we get into like match predictions and stuff like that, but ranks, it matters to a certain extent, but you'll notice that like later on in the season, as teams start playing together more and more, that it's not going to matter as much. So, and I think that's why a lot of us are interested to see, like, especially like some of these like hyper carry strategy rosters, how they're going to perform. So Orbit at second, I just know a lot of these guys, or some of these guys, and I know they can play well, so I put them at second. Obviously, this can change. I could tell based on everyone else's rankings that it was kind of different. So yeah, I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts on Orbit
Yeah,
so
like
far.
for me personally, most of my rankings came off of like before I put my rankings in, I looked at everyone on the team, basically looking at salaries, people I know. If I haven't seen them, it was kind of like a shot in the dark. Really, I didn't know really what was going to happen. But so basically, what I look forward to in the power rankings were basically like if you have more of a carry style, it depends on who you are. Like we know we got some of the managers playing in this league who are 1600 and above, like American Banter and like Kuko and everybody else like that. It's going to be very interesting to see their type of play styles. Will they go for the hyper carry or will they kind of just like turtle it? Be the backbone their team needs. It's going to be very interesting to see how that will play out.
All right. What about you? Like, any thoughts on Orbit number 2, or we want to just move on to number 3?
I don't know that I would have put him at number 2, but I don't know who I would put there. I don't have a lot of information about the players this season. I haven't really been around a whole lot due to moving home and things like that. So I have no idea from here on out.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the general vibe you'll get from the rest of our list going forward, because pretty much after the Sharks, like, ranks were all over the place for a lot of teams. Some of the teams were pretty consistent, which I'll touch on later. But a lot of the teams were kind of all over the place with like deviations of like 2, 3, 4 for some of the teams. Especially, like, I think another team that's going to be really interesting to look out for that was pretty consistent between all 3 of the power rankings was the Halos, actually. The public and managers put them both at the Halos at 7, and then we put them at 6. So they actually had like one of the lowest standard deviations out of all the power rankings. So why do you guys think that is? Like, why do you think most people put them like very middle of the road?
To be honest with you, I don't like. Obviously, I'm not them, so I wouldn't know for a fact. But
Mhm.
if I had to like put my guess on it, they probably did. They probably did the same thing we did. They probably looked at the people they got, and then basically based on like if they knew who they were, or depending on like how big the salary gap was between each player, they probably put their like bets on that. Really, because like I said, that's what I did for the most part. Like some of the returners, I knew who they
Yeah.
were. So
Yeah, and I think it could be pure coincidence. Like, it's possible that some of these deviations, like right now you're looking at the staff vote, but next we can look at the public. Is there anything else that you guys want to touch on, or something that you think seems maybe out of place, or what you expected in this list? Because I don't want to. Because if we sit here and talk about every single team, we're going to be here for hours. So.
I want to chime in.
Yeah,
I want to
you're not
chime
wrong.
in here really quick. I think the Miami Thrashers are being massively underrated here. I've seen them. I've seen a few streams. I popped into a few streams of them doing tryouts and not tryouts, sorry, scrims and stuff, and they've kept it close with some of the best teams in the league that we voted to be the best in the league in quotations here. So I'm interested to see where they rank, honestly, and I'm also kind of surprised to see the Thunder solo as well because they have some really good pieces, I think.
Yeah, and I think it'll. Well, if you think the Thunder is underrated here, the public is going to make you a lot more upset.
All right, so
is there anything else we can think of for staff? Because obviously, like we are the ones that voted on this, so we probably have the most insight here.
I don't know.
I don't really know.
all right,
Yeah,
so
I think
would-
everything else is
like
pretty
I'm
consistent.
interested to see how the public.
yeah, I guess the vote I would put the most weight on, I think, is a manager vote because I feel like they're the ones that know the most because they're the ones like screaming at each other and stuff. So if I were to put weight on a vote, wait for the manager vote, which is why I put it at last. Save the best for last. But I'll go ahead here and move us to the public vote, and we can see what you guys voted as the top and bottom teams in the league.
Drum roll. There we go. Big reveal. All right.
Ta-da.
So now we're on the public vote. So this is everyone, I believe. This includes players, right, Octo?
Yeah, it does include players.
Yeah, so basically players, coaches, anyone that's not a manager or staff is included in this. So obviously, again, we're noticing a trend that like the same like 4-ish teams are like kind of near the top. So you'll notice like Shark, Blaze, Ice, Deadeye is kind of all deviating, or not really deviating too much. So do you guys think that that's mostly because of like returning star power and just like what people know, or do you think that like something else might be at play here?
I personally think it might be one of the big reasons that people are putting them up towards the top is just knowing the players, knowing how they play, and kind of basing it off of what they've seen so far this season with other players, and how they work as a team and how they manage teams, and things like that.
Yeah,
do you think?
well, I will completely agree with that statement because as we saw last year, we were not expecting it.
Yeah,
Not in
that's
the
far from.
least.
Yeah,
That is
Like-
as good as I can get it for you guys. Nobody was expecting it until it happened, and we were just like, "Oh, don't tell me this is about to happen."
yeah. Like honestly, I wish like that's like one of our biggest regrets is we didn't save that grand final. Because for those of you that watched and for those of you that were there or playing in it or anything like that, that grand final was something to like remember forever. Because it was crazy, absolutely crazy. Anyone that was here last season can vouch. It was an absolutely crazy grand final, and I really wish we saved
Yeah,
it. But,
for those of you out of the
pretty
loop,
wild.
it was the Calgary Blaze and the San Francisco Sharks that went to a Game 7 with the bracket reset, I think. Am I wrong?
yes, no, yeah, it was a bracket
Game
reset.
7,
Yes, it
bracket
was.
reset, and then it was like a 5-game map after that.
Yeah, I think it was like 4 or 5.
Yeah, but
after that,
Sharks
it was
edged it out in
absolutely
the
insane.
end. It was great. It was
Yeah,
wonderful.
they had the momentum and they kept it up.
So yeah, basically like, again, I'm big old asterisk. We literally have nothing to go on. This was all just purely like subjective. Sorry, Banter. Nightbot, we're working on Nightbot. Don't worry. You just get to take a 5-second cooldown.
Actually, it's all day.
So yeah, I think again, talking about what Octo said, Miami again being, some would argue, criminally underrated here. Just because, like, you know, Octo has said, I haven't personally watched the scrims, but obviously, like, I vouch for Octo, so I'm gonna be really interested to keep an eye on them and see how they progress, because
Yeah, they have a pretty well balanced team when it comes to like salary wise. You know, they got 2 300s and 2 200s. You know, fits perfectly at the 1,000 mark. And yeah, I will agree. I'm actually very surprised like how low they're being rated as well. It would be nice
yeah,
if we could see
for
some action this weekend to change their minds.
for sure. All right. So, is there anything else that we can think of note? Like, I think the next one is going to be pretty interesting. So, obviously, like we were saying, we'll put more stake in the manager vote just because they're the ones obviously like scrimming each other, so they know the most compared to everyone else. So, without a further ado, Octo, if you don't mind, let's switch over to the manager
Let me go
vote.
ahead and get the manager vote. I'll give myself a little drum roll here. I'll go. Fingers on the desk. All right, here we go. Here are the results for the manager vote. We had not too many of them come out and vote. We had like 6 or 7, I want to say. So this isn't like the full pool, but here it is for you guys that are interested.
Yeah, so definitely, as you guys noticed from the public,
trend. The trend.
yeah, there's definitely a trend, obviously, with Shark being first, but a lot of changes you guys see here compared to the public. Like,
Yeah.
I think the first one that really stood out to me was the Aces. The Aces, both in our voting and the public, they were both ranked at 10th, and the managers put them 5th. So, obviously, like, they know something we don't, and we are criminally underrating the Aces.
Also,
So-
I want to
The
point
same
out.
thing with Thrashers.
Yeah, I also wanted to point
Yeah.
out the Thunder. They were ranked last in the public vote, and they shot up all the way to 4th in the manager vote. So, you know,
Yeah.
I'm looking out for the Thunder.
For sure. And I think these are definitely words, like manager words you take higher, just because, like we said earlier, you know, they're the ones that scrimming, they're the ones watching the scrims, playing in the scrims, whatever, what have you. Another big jump we see, Orbit down to 11.
Yeah.
So, any thoughts on that? Like, do we think that it's just they might have? It's early on, right? So, obviously, you know, might be player cohesion issues, stuff like that. We don't really know, obviously, because we're not in the team. But with that much deviation, you kind of wonder, like, what's kind of being lost between, like, the managers. Like, obviously, the managers are the ones scripting, right? So they know something that we don't.
Yeah,
But,
but then
oh.
again, that could just be biased, you know. And
It could be. It absolutely could be
yeah,
biased.
it could be based on that. But honestly, you know, Sharks are still at the top, so everybody knows something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Another large drop was actually Deadeyes went from 4th to 9th. So definitely a lot of flip flopping there for the Deadeyes.
Yeah,
So,
I'm very interested
it's
to
possible.
see how they play as well. They got
Yeah.
a well balanced team as well.
Mhm.
They got a 300, 250s, and a 200. I have my faith in them. You know, same thing with the Thrashers. You know, they were being placed at the bottom. You know, but then again, it's just like my way of thinking right now is like I'm looking at salaries, basing it off of that, and then I'm also basing it off of who I've seen play and everything like that. And it's very interesting to see like how my thoughts are like completely different than some people's. You know.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Like, I see you guys talking about Twitch chat, like, oh, it's not going to be accurate. Like, that's kind of the point, right? Like, if you would have showed me what the preseason power rankings were going to be last season, and then what it ended up being at the end of the season, like, it's wildly different.
Oh yes.
It's crazy different. So, like we said at the beginning, huge asterisk on this. Like, take this with a grain of salt. Like, I guarantee you, a lot of this stuff is going to change. So definitely don't be disheartened. If anything, take it as motivation. Prove us wrong, right?
Exactly. That's what I was about to bring up. For those teams that are like discouraged to like be at the bottom half of the standings, like get ready and like just beat some teams and like prove us wrong. 'Cause that's exactly what we want. We love to see like the underdog like upset story. So like
We saw it last season.
again,
It,
don't take it to heart.
like, definitely not impossible. We saw it happen last season. We saw top teams fall apart. Like it's all dependent on how hard you work. And I think that's the biggest thing I wanted to hammer home is like in a league like this, putting in work will pay off dividends. I promise. And the teams that stay complacent, it will show. Because it did the same thing last season. The teams that stayed complacent, it showed in their rankings, and it showed in playoffs. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. See those players who are just like come out of nowhere, and go from the bottom right to the top, Like we were saying, like last season was a season to remember, even though it was the first one, but it was astonishing to watch that game.
Yeah, absolutely. And then finally, to close it out, I'm just going to talk about some interesting stats I pulled. So, believe it or not, the Sharks obviously were placed first every time, so they had the highest average rank and the lowest deviation. The Vipers actually had the lowest average ranking between all three surveys, and then the Thunder actually had the highest deviation between all three surveys. So, some interesting stuff. Interesting stuff.
Yes, it very is. All right. So, you want to go ahead and move on?
Yeah, for sure. So, let's talk about the draft. Winners and losers. So, when we say draft winners and losers, I think we mean this probably won't be a huge topic that we probably won't touch on this for too long. But I think some of the teams definitely had better drafts than the others. Like I'll say, for instance, for me, ironically, I think the Vipers had a very interesting draft. I won't say they necessarily won or lost. I think they had a very interesting draft. Because I want to see how this hyper carry strategy is going to work out, man. I'm very curious to see how it's going to work.
I am exactly the same way. I want to see like what kind of play styles are going to happen. Like I was touching on earlier, are they just going to go for like something nutty, just completely carry, or are they just going to go for like the backbone of the team?
Yeah, exactly. And I think like I think all of us were kind of shocked when we saw that pick. We were like, oh, okay. Because, like, I feel like when you make a pick like that, like, you are telling the league, like, hey, I am building a team around this person. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be really interesting. Other teams, what do you guys think? Who do you guys think was your standout, like, draft winner, or, like, someone that had a really interesting draft that stuck out to you guys?
I don't know that I would say anybody particularly won. I think all of the drafts were really good. I think the Sharks probably had the best overall, especially bringing back two of their old players.
Yeah, I think that was massive because you have that pre-existing synergy between the two of them at least. Bringing in a third, obviously, it's gonna be a little different for them, but it's still, you have time, right? I think that's the biggest thing. Is you have a lot of time to make these rosters work.
Yeah, and they'll be able to make it work. Absolutely.
Yeah. So for me, obviously, I wanted to touch up on the Deadeyes for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting to see Skylar pick up Yokaisen again. Just like not trying to be biased or anything. For you guys who don't know, I was the team manager for Dallas last season and Toronto IS. Don't ask why I was manager of two teams. Not touch on
season one ancient history.
Exactly. But it was very I don't know if it was very reassuring for me to see that, but I think Skylar had an interesting plan. I think he was trying to go with something that he knew would work, and so he was trying to pick up basically what you would just a secure draft, something that he knows in his mind will work, and people that he knows of. Like I know Squintle myself, and I know Skylar knows Squintle as well. I don't know who Cryptic Bread is, but I know those three players, and I know how they play, and I think there will be a team to watch out for as well.
Yeah, because on paper, right, they seem like pretty much like one of the most balanced teams. Besides, I think them and the Orbit, I would say.
Oh yeah,
the Orbit and the Hunters, if you put it down on a piece of paper, and even the Thrashers, you could argue, they had very balanced drafts. Like nothing really stood out. You were like, wow, they went for a really not risky pick, but they went for a kind of off meta pick, I guess you could say.
Well,
Because the cool thing.
I
Yeah,
wouldn't
go
even
ahead, go ahead.
say off meta like that, because it's like, most of the, as we saw, like most of these picks anyways, like, Atlanta Halos, Thunder, and like one or two more teams, they're revolving around these bigger salaries, right? And so they have to try to build a team around that. But I think they went for the smart pick, right?
Yeah.
I think they went for the smartest that they could do. Like Thrashers, they're exactly on the dot without there being too much of a MMR, like a salary gap there. And so I feel like that kind of levels it for their team. And what I mean by that is just like you don't have somebody who's too high, and you don't have anybody that's like just too low. They kind of all hang around the same salary or rank, and they know what they're doing. And so I feel like that itself can improve the basically the team play itself, because they got a balanced team. Two players might be higher than the other two, but they're usually around like right there at each other, so they can mesh pretty well.
Yeah. I think another interesting thing that happened during the draft, Yokaizen talked about it in chat a little bit, so I'm going to talk about it now. Ice got King Chris in their last round. That was really surprising to me.
I was very surprised about that too.
If you think about it, right, it was kind of smart, because there was kind of a game to play within the draft itself, right? And I think that's why the salary system is so fun, because the draft really showed us who took the time and who did their homework and who didn't. Because, like I said, it definitely reflected in the draft a little bit. Like the fact that, like, Newt clearly had a game plan, right? Like Newt clearly had a game plan for the draft. She got her kind of like middle of the pack, lower ranked players out of the way before she went for her like big ticket player, I guess you'll say, right? Yeah. So it's really interesting to see how each manager approached the draft and how they kind of almost approached them kind of differently. Except obviously for like the middle of the pack teams, but.
Well, you can also see with the Blaze, they did it looks like they did basically the same thing. Mm-hmm. So, the two, obviously Newt and Wavy, I believe, is managing the Blaze, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Obviously, they did what they needed to do, researching their players.
Yeah, and that's another thing I wanted to touch up on too. The Blaze, the Calgary Blaze. It's like they have Iceman, Wavy, and Cosmic Dex.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some pretty solid players.
Yeah, right? They got the one Diamond 1 player that we got to sign up. Yeah. So like, they actually won the draft. Like,
yeah. So I don't like you said, that was our only Diamond 1 player. All right, but I feel like for that kind of team, they did get a really balanced pick. But I feel like with the Diamond 1 player, they could kind of work him up to be what they need him to be. If you know.
Remember, like, this player is going to have to play a series before the midseason tournament. Oh, yeah. So, like, they have to keep that in mind. Like, because I think you'll notice too, because if you don't constantly keep your fourth player in rotation, then like, come, the week before the midseason tournament, like, oh shit, I have to play my player, or else we can't play in the midseason tournament. Like, it's going to show. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how teams foster that fourth player in. And, instead of treating them like a sub, they kind of need to treat them like a second, third player almost. Mm-hmm. So I think, especially like throughout the season with our minimum games played requirement, it's going to be really interesting to see how that fourth player is fostered into the team. Because it's not like RLCS where you can just, you grab your sub and then you never use them, right? Like you have to use your sub in this league. It's literally required. So it's going to be interesting, I think. But besides that, do we have any other like closing thoughts about drafting, draft day, winners, losers?
I want to touch on just the aces real quick here, because they picked up T-Man, and I've seen a lot of people hype the guy up. Like, this guy could be this guy can be like, from what I've seen just from the hype alone, he could definitely be like an MVP, like rookie of the season, like player of the year type, not the year of the season. I'm interested to see how that folds out. Maybe, the hype dies and he doesn't perform as well as we thought he was, or he plays out of his mind. So keep an eye on the Aces, because they have a pretty solid roster similar to the Toronto Eyes.
Yes, I know exactly how T-Man plays, because in the other league that I'm in, I have watched him, and streamed games, but I'm not going to spoil it for everybody. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, and I think speaking of games, I think that's a good segue to get us into our next topic,
All right,
which is going to be match predictions and matches to watch for week 1. So, as you
salty about this one.
Yeah, as you can see on screen, we all have our match predictions. Like I said, take this with a grain of salt. We have no idea how the teams play, pretty much. So, all right. Blue, I gotta talk about yours first. You have so many game 5s. so like, is there a legitimate reason why you put so many game 5s, or do you think that like the league is so chaotic in its first couple of weeks that like we have no idea what's gonna happen?
Okay, so basically, let me put you in my mind, right? So, like I said, most of my predictions were based off of 2 things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, how big of a skill difference there is between the players.
Yep.
Or how like even it was, or that's basically the same thing, but or like how like if they're returning players, I basically will know how they work. So like when it comes to the Los Angeles Aces and the Boston Revolt, so basically what I was looking at there, and it's just like, okay, well, who's on the Aces right now? So I'm looking at the Aces, and they got like you said, they got T-Man, they got Kellogg Gamer, and they got Crunch Vision and Sabora.
Yeah.
Now, when I'm looking at them, T-Man's at the very top, 500 salary right now. But then you got Kellogg, and I've played with Kellogg, and I know Kellogg's a decent player as well. But then it's just like I'm looking at that, and it's just like, well, they're kind of, they're kind of like banking on like T-Man there with Kellogg to back them up, and then hopefully like Crunch Vision or Cybora can pick up the slack where they're missing, or like where they're missing off of. So looking at that, but if I go to the Boston Revolt, if I can find them real quick.
No, you're fine. Because I noticed both you and Relic didn't put a single sweep, didn't put a single one.
No.
So I'm very interested. Once Blue is done, I'm very interested to hear what you have to say, Relic. So.
Okay. So like with the Boston Revolt, they got Major Tyler. He's a Diamond 2, I believe. And they got Doc. I know Doc's a pretty good player. I think he's right. I don't know if he's hit GC yet. Could be wrong. He is? Okay. So they got Doc, who's 425. They got the PC Bearcats, who's 200, and they got, I don't even know how to say his name, but that guy, he's 300. They got a pretty well balanced team.
Yeah.
And like I said, like if the MMRs are closer, the team's gonna mesh better together.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I put that the Boston Revolt come out of this on top, because I feel like they're probably gonna mesh better together than the Aces will. But like you said, we haven't seen them play. All I'm doing right now is basing everything on like what I know as of right now and how I think it's gonna go.
Well, and also I think one thing to keep in mind too is that like this is literally going to be the first game of the season, so you might have to factor in some like I don't know how people get with like pregame jitters and stuff, especially since it's like the first game of the season. So, but I think your logic is pretty solid. What were you gonna say, Octo? I'm sorry, I cut you off. Did I cut you off? I'm sorry. I thought you were about to say something.
No, I'm good. You're good. I wasn't gonna say anything.
Well, what do you guys think about the Los Angeles games and the Boston Revolt?
I think it's possible. Like, yeah, go ahead, Octo. Sorry.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know how this game is gonna go because like I feel like Boston has a fairly solid roster, but I'm just going for the Aces purely because of like that the volatility that you get with T-Man. Like I feel like he can change the game like outcome. I don't know. I'm very interested to see how this game plays out though. But I genuinely have no idea. These are these are just preseason like ramblings. Like we aren't educated in our opinions just yet. Like as the season goes on, like we'll obviously have better calls on like who's gonna win what. But like these are all up in the air for me.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Relic. I want to hear what you have to say. Well, actually, Blue. Do you want to go over the rest of your matches? The rest of your matchups. Sorry.
Okay. Well. Next, we got the Deadeyes and the Eyes, the 2 teams I managed.
Yeah,
it's very fun to say, But so like I was saying, the Deadeyes and the Eyes, I'm looking at them, and I'm sorry, dude. You probably want me to root you on, and I am, but I'm going for the Deadeyes on this one. So the reason I say that is because I've played with Rebel and I've played with Overrated, and I haven't played with King Chris, but it's like I said, it could be a good thing. You got King Chris, he's coming out on the 425, and you got Overrated and Rebel right there at the same same salary, who are 250, and that could be a troublemaking team. But to me, I don't think Overrated and Rebel and King Chris have played enough games as Skylar and Yokaizen together, and I know Skylar and Squintle are very close as well. So I feel like they just get the synergy to get them through this game and get them through the win.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's going to be interesting too as we go throughout the rest of these, because obviously with our 4th player rule and the minimum games played before the midseason tournament for your team to qualify, I think it's going to be really interesting to see are these teams, because it's the first week and it's so chaotic, are they just going to play their sub to get their game in, or are they going to play it safe? So I think that's another thing too that you always have to consider in the back of your mind. Is when are they gonna bring in their sub to play, to get those games in that they need? So it'll be interesting, but I would agree there too. I think it's going to be a pretty close game.
Yes, I saw that Tears was 2-3 with the Deadeyes losing as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be close.
I think it's going to be a very close game.
Octo, on the other hand, thinks it's going to be a 3-0 sweep for the Ice.
Jesus, no faith.
I'm sorry. I'm not banking on the synergy. I know Yokaizen's a great player, and I know the Dallas boys they have a pretty decent roster, but I feel like Toronto, especially in this first week where teams are still acclimating to each other, I feel like it's the higher ranked teams that'll prevail rather than the lower ranked teams. Not the lower ranked teams, but the lower MMR teams here.
Yeah.
The more diverse and
salaries.
Yeah. Okay, I get where you're coming from. Alright, so on to the Calgary Blaze and the Minnesota Hunters. Alright. Like I was saying earlier, the Blaze, they have people that I've played with as well. Now you got Cosmic Dex, Iceman, Chills, and Wavy. I feel like that's going to be the team that goes against the Hunters. That's just my hunch. Because if it was me, I would kind of want to go just balls to the wall right off the bat. Try to make that good impression, get your power rankings up,
Yeah, get those stonks,
Yeah, show them people that you're not afraid and you're just coming out full force.
Yeah.
So, like I was saying, Blaze, they just have... I think they just have like I was saying with the Deadeyes, it's I know they haven't all played on a team, but I think them 3 know each other enough and know their play styles enough to get them through this game. And it's I'm looking at the Hunters, Cody. I know Cody and I know Taterbot. I don't know Xander or Dokovic. I don't know either of them. And they do have a pretty well-rounded team together. Like I was saying, and they're really similar to salary-wise, and I feel like they'll probably mesh well.
Yeah.
But it's just to me, I think that the Blaze are just going to have that oomph they need to get them almost 3-0. But I have faith in the Hunters to at least win one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what are your thoughts on it?
I think I would kind of agree with you. I gave Orbit a game. Oh wait, sorry. You're talking about Hunters.
Yes.
I didn't give Hunters a game. That was one of my few sweeps I think might happen this week. But I honestly can see a world where they do sneak out a game or even 2. Because first game of the season, it's all chaos right now. We literally have no idea. For all we know, these could be all sweeps. These could be all 3-2s. We literally don't know. We might be seeing a lot of Champions Field this weekend. we have no idea.
Yeah, you are correct.
So, but yeah, I could see it. But yeah, what about
Relic?
Orbit?
I see. Well, I was about to say Relic. I see has got the Minnesota Hunters winning.
Yeah, I have an upset pick. Honestly, I picked this just because I think it will go to a game 5. I think the Calgary Blaze with Iceman and Wavy and Cosmic is going to perform extremely well, but I also think that the Hunters, with the very similar MMR, the very solid team that will mesh well, is going to hold out, and I think it might win them a game 5.
Interesting. I like it as well.
Yeah, because you and Octo shared the same result, and then I gave it a sweep, and then Relic, obviously. I like the upset pick potential. I didn't really pick an upset pick this week. You can maybe argue that the Vipers are an upset pick, but I don't really know. I think it's going to be interesting either way. But yeah, what do you think about? So next match is going to be Orbit Thunder. So this one is interesting to me. You picked Thunder to win in Game 5.
Yes, I did, and I could see that. Octo was like, "Oh, they got it in the bag, 3-1." Same with you, and same with Relic. I'm
we all had the
only
guess.
3-2, dude. But so my thoughts here are like I said, it's like I've played with Kuko. I know how Kuko is as well. Like Kuko is a very well player. Now, don't get me wrong, he's a very well player, and he's working with Walrus right now, and then Yoho, and then Jason. Or is that no? It's not Jason. JJ14. I don't know who that is. I can't remember. But I know Kuko, and like Walrus is saying in chat, Kuko is cracked. But it's like with the Seattle Orbit, it's like you got Recede, Solid Space. They have the season 1 vibe going on there.
Yeah.
Both of them have played in season 1, and I feel like they can mesh well together. Then they got Fly Parker. I don't know who that is, but he's on the same boat as Recede, same MMR, and Bootstrap's not far behind them. They got a really well-rounded pick. All right, but it's just like I feel like the Orbit will get like a game or two out of them just because of how well-rounded their team is. But I have to give it to Thunder, man, because like I was saying, Kuko, man, it's just like I feel like Kuko will just pull this out for his team, if not show off a little bit.
Yeah, I see a lot of chat support for Kuko, so
oh yes,
yeah. I can definitely see
Kuko,
it.
don't say you do. I know.
Also,
Yeah,
he's one of the
say,
few
Kuko
teams
just
that's
dropped
actually
the
picked up a coach already, like officially. I think some teams might have like unofficial coaches, but like he's like one of the few teams that has like an official coach, which I think is really, really good. And I would recommend. This is my one free advice that I'm giving everyone. If you're a manager, try and pick up a coach. Like it will help. It will help immensely. I promise.
It does.
I 100%
helped.
recommend picking up a coach.
It helped
because
immensely for the Hunters
You
last
will
season.
thank me later. That is a hashtag ad, I guess. But pick up a coach.
But
As a player from last season, having a coach that would play with us and talk us through what we were doing wrong and going through with us and making us go on ball chaser and things like that. Honestly, it was so incredibly helpful. I went from Diamond 1 to Champ 1 in like the first, I want to say like month and a half, 2 months of the season.
Yeah,
There you
I
go.
was also going to add
Testimony
on.
right there.
I know the coach for Minnesota Hunters, Johnny Conga. He was the main reason like they turned around their season. Like Minnesota Hunters were like near the bottom more or less for like the majority of the time, like at the start of the season, and then like they got an immense coaching from Johnny Conga, who's currently a free agent right now. I think that'd be a good pickup. But as I was saying,
a coach and a player.
Yeah, coach and a player. Get yourself a coach and player in one package. But yeah, no, the coaching helps a lot. And it turned around their season, and they were looking like top dogs for a good portion of the season, taking down like the top teams in the league and stuff. So, like Viper said, look for a manager. A coach. Look for a coach. That would help you guys out a lot.
If you need a manager, we have a problem. But yeah, it's like I completely agree with that. And like last season with the Hunters, it was like it didn't matter who they put in. It's just like they had their starting roster, but their like subs were just as good. Their game score might have not been like as good as the main roster, but they could hold out on their own and get some wins in for them.
All right, so we kind of shifted over a little bit. So let's talk about the next match, which I think is really interesting. None of us put this game as a sweep. Sharks Halos. You have them 3-2, Blue.
Yes, and let me tell you why.
I'm ready.
Okay, so as we all know, Nexus and Blitz are the Season 1 champions from last year with main AR and Gunnar Lee. Okay, I believe I've seen Gunnar Lee play in a different league, but I'm not too sure about AR. But my thoughts on the Atlanta Halos, right, is American Banter. I feel like American Banter has something to prove to people, okay? I feel like he is going to try as much as he can to pop off this game. Because, it's against the Sharks, man. Last season champions. He's going to try everything in his power to, like, knock him down if he can. So I feel like this is just going to be a close game.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a whole lot I could say about it, but it's just like I can feel it. I feel like it's going to be a close game.
Yeah,
See,
I get
but
you. I kind of get that same vibe too.
That right there is why I don't think it's going to be a close game, because American Banner thinks he has something to prove, or he might think he has something to prove. I should say. I don't know what's going on in his brain.
Interesting. I like it. Please elaborate. I'm curious.
If he's going to, well, think about it this way: if you are sweating super hard during a comp match, you start getting frustrated at yourself because you're missing things that you think you should be hitting. You start getting annoyed, and you're going to start getting into your own head. And I think him maybe getting frustrated with himself and maybe with his teammates, especially because it is the first game of the season, there isn't really that chemistry yet. I think that's going to hold them back a little bit. That's why I think it'd be 3-1.
I got you.
I
think.
Oh, go for it.
Yeah, go ahead, Octo. Go.
No. You go. You go.
Okay. Okay. So basically, like I think this is going to be a close game, just because like Banter's been talking a lot. He's been yeah. Sorry, rip headphone users for that. Thanks, Octo. Octo clap.
Sorry.
Right.
Yeah. So I think Banter does have something to prove, because he's been talking. I'll say that he's been talking a little bit. He's been hyping his team up. So I'm very interested how that's going to translate in game day. Very interested. Like,
Well, he
we're
might
going to
have
win?
the confidence. Like they might.
And
Who
yeah.
knows? They might have the chemistry already. They might have it down to a T already. But
That's true.
we just have to wait and see. That's why I gave it like a close game. That's why I didn't give them a sweep.
Like I
Okay.
literally remember in Banter's player application, I was like, he was like, why do you want to play an MPC? And he was like, I want another league to win. So I was like, okay. I was like, okay.
Straightforward.
This man came to play. I respect it. Okay. I respect it. So I'm very interested to see what's gonna happen. Very interested.
Yeah, it's like
I think this is gonna be the match of the week. I honestly think this is
I
gonna be
think
the
so
match of the
too.
week.
Sorry, I have to clear my throat. But as I was gonna say, I really do think that this game is gonna be up to mental, because I genuinely think that Atlanta Halos can win the Sharks, but I got Sharks winning purely off mental, because I know the players on the Sharks, and they're confident, to say the least. I think we all know that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it really is dependent on the Halos, because they're mostly a team of like rookies. And by rookies, I mean like new faces this season. From what I remember,
Unproven talent.
a lot of unproven talent, and going up against the team that everyone is saying is like the best. Like, oh, they have 2 champions from last season. They're both like really high rated players. It depends on like how you take that and how you play on the field. So I really it's
At the end
dependent
of the
on
day,
whether
it's a
or not
3v3 game.
Exactly.
It's a 3v3 game at the end of the day.
Well, see, that kind of proves my point as well. It's just like I feel like if American is talking all this crap, he has to have something up his sleeve.
He's gotta.
First- he's got to. If he doesn't, it's just like, I'm sorry, man, but I don't want to hear any more of that crap and banter anymore. But it's like they might have the team chemistry, but it's just like I feel like the Shark, like you were saying, like the Sharks last season, nobody thought they were going to win, but they pulled it out, man.
They put the work in.
Yeah,
put the work
they
in.
showed us that even like the underdogs they could win it all.
Mhm.
So that's why I have them winning 3-2, because I feel like I kind of agree with you as well, Relic, on how American with your higher salary or MOR players, it's just like they do get frustrated even over the littlest things as well, because like me and myself, I've been playing more into the GC scene, even though like I'm not ranked GC right now. I'm in a league where I'm actually in the GC league itself, and I play with these higher ranked players, and it's just like, well, he's getting mad over everything, but he could be one of those guys who is just like, it's okay, we'll get it next time, But that's how I feel the Sharks are. They got the mental power to just like push through it, easy sailing. If they get mad, they can kind of just brush it off and keep on going.
Yeah. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. But let's talk about the final match of the weekend. Thrashers versus Vipers. So all of you except me said this was going to a game 5. So,
Absolutely.
all right.
We have a bit of a setup too, because you and Relic both think the Vipers are going to win. but me and Octo also think the Thrashers.
It's true. This was not planned. I swear to God, this was not planned.
Well, let
So-
me hear you. Let me hear both of your guys' opinions of why you think the Vipers will win.
I think my case for the Vipers is pretty much down to like one thing. How is Nikolai gonna perform?
Yep.
Like, I think that's like my biggest thing, because like we said earlier, you know, when we were talking about the draft, when you pick someone up like Nikolai, you're saying I'm building a team around this player. So how is that going to translate on game day? You know, because like when you have a player like that, obviously very skilled, MMR shows it, right? But how is that going to translate when you have to play with two other players who are vastly different ranked than you? Well, I guess vastly is a relative term, but you know, there's a decent rank discrepancy between him and the other two players that are going to be playing with him. So I think those are my two questions. How is he going to perform, and who is he going to play with? Because they picked up 2 Diamond 3s. So I'm very interested. Obviously, it's going to be probably Nikolai game time, and then someone. And I'm interested to see who that third is going to be. So at least I know with the Vipers, they're not going to have a problem switching their fourth in and out, because they're pretty much the same rank. So it's going to be a lot easier compared to like a team that has like, you know, like the Sharks, for example. They have 2 GCs and it's D3, and they're going to have to swap out their D2 or vice versa. You know, it's going to be very different. But yeah, I'm very interested to see how Nikolai shows up for this first game. Like, who knows? Like, they could sweep the Thrashers and make this a huge statement game, right? Like, I have no idea. But I think it's going to be interesting. I'm banking on Nikolai kind of hard carrying at least the first couple weeks, just because, you know, mechanically, I think it's going to matter a lot more in the early weeks compared to later. But yeah, I just think he's going to show up. And I think that's how they're going to take this, like, pretty handily. I think the Thrashers will get a game, but I don't think it's going to game 5.
The reason I thought it was going to go to game 5, honestly, I'm not sure about this game, because it could be a case where you do have a hard carry for 1 or 2 games, and then the cohesion of the other team, because they are all around the same rank, comes together and propels them through to a game 5 win. I don't know. The reason I said Vipers in a game 5 is because of Nikolai. I think he's going to not necessarily dominate, but, you know, definitely show up and put some spicy shots on goal.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with you there. All right, so you guys, you and OctoBlue both have the Vipers winning in 5. So
Yes,
walk me through that, because I'm very interested to hear what you have to say now.
Okay, so like you guys were saying, like with the Vipers, it all comes up to Nikolai. Okay, because we all know Nikolai, he's a high salary player. You know, they're trying to build a team around him, a team that will work with him, and, you know, will be kind of like his supporters. Okay, but with the Miami Thrashers, they're a well-rounded team. So that's why I was telling you guys, like, most of my picks were depending on like who's on the team itself, if I've seen them play before or not, or like what's the difference in salary, or like just basically, like, I made my picks as logical as I could without knowing who, like, how it's gonna go. So with the Thrashers, it's like they got Atlas, Carlton, Sir Pride, and Nova Matty. We all know Nova Matty because he played last season, I believe.
Yeah, he played for the Shark. Not the Shark, sorry, the Thunder.
Thunder.
Yeah. Yes. Carlton, Atlas, and Sir Pride, I have not seen it at all. But I feel like that well-rounded team is just going to pull out the win, because I feel like with the way the Vipers are set up, it could kind of go with it could kind of go with the Halos or the Thunder, for instance. It's just like, I feel like Nikolai, he'll show up, but I feel like his team's what's going to drag him down this game versus a well-rounded team, and that's why I put it as a game 5, because Nikolai could carry the first 2 games, or like keep it into play. But I feel like that last game, it's going to be who can withstand the pressure more. Will it be Nikolai and his 2 supporters, or will it be the Thrashers with a well-balanced team? And just for my personal opinion, I think it's going to be the Thrashers, because one, you know, I just feel like they have a more well-rounded like set of skills, I would say.
Yeah, I get you. Octo, you put Thrashers winning at 5 as well, so I'm very interested to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, well, Blue covered most of like what I was really thinking in my head, but I think another big determining factor in this game is like the Miami Thrashers and their mental, because I've popped into a few like their scrims and stuff, and I've seen like Thrashers comms and stuff, but I feel like they're a little. I'm no therapist by any means, but I think they're a little easily boomable here. I think I feel like they get
A little shaky in the mental department.
A little shaky. They definitely have the manpower to like take down top teams, but like you can definitely tell there's like. They get a little, a little tilted. I guess is the way to put it. But as long as they like go over as long as they put teamwork first and like mental second, I feel like Thrashers can dispose of the Vipers. But Nikolai is going to be a big determining factor in that as well, because like we've all said before, like he's a very high rated player and he definitely has like the ability to like carry this team, but it's also on the Thrashers and how they're feeling on the day as well.
Yeah, so I think with that, we've pretty much wrapped up every match that's going to happen this week. We kind of touched on it earlier, so what do we think? If we had to pick one match to watch this weekend, what match should we tell people to watch?
It's gonna be the Sharks versus the Halos, I believe.
Okay, yeah, because I'm thinking the same thing too. What about you, Relic?
Honestly, I would say Sharks versus the Halos. I think it's going to be a really interesting game to watch. Alternatively, the Aces versus the Revolt. Personally, for me, having Kellogg and Doc as two of my teammates last year, naturally, I want to see how they do against each other. I want to see how that turns out.
All right, what about you, Octo? Any?
Honestly, I agree with the Sharks versus Halos pick, but I think if you weren't to like be able to tune in and watch that match, I'd say the Thrashers versus Vipers match. Honestly,
Yeah, that would be my second pick. I would like to see how. I would like to see how, or if Nikolai can carry their team.
Yeah, because I think that's going to kind of be the same thing you talk about with like the Thunder, the Halos, stuff like that. It's just like how is the strategy going to pay off in the long run? I guess is the way you would see it. So with that, I think that's going to end our match predictions. Don't forget our first match of the season, Friday, 8 p.m. EST. You will have me and Octo on the mic. We will be streaming it on this channel, RL Pro Circuit. So if you haven't followed already, drop a follow, please.
pretty please.
So you can get notified when we go live and we can start our matches. And you guys can be here. You can watch the matches. You can talk and chat. You can hear us cast. I get my casting comes back. My classic caster calls from last season. You can see some clips of it still on this channel. Some of them prettier than others, but yeah. Anyway, so we are gonna just about done. We're gonna actually close out with some stuff. Take questions from you guys. So if you guys have any questions, either like you can @ me at Octo in chat. You can highlight your message, do whatever you want to do. But yeah, if you guys have any questions that you guys want to ask us, it could be league related, like rules related. We'll even take those. Anything like that you guys have questions on, you need clarification on, like ask away, because we actually have staff on this overtime, so we actually can like give you guys good answers.
I do play Minecraft. Deadeyes, why are they not number one? Well, Sharks are number one for now.
Yeah. You gotta prove us wrong. The Deadeyes gotta prove us wrong.
I play Minecraft. I play a lot of Minecraft.
I do agree that Rumble is bad. Yes.
Yeah, I think we all
I have
agree
played
here.
Minecraft,
If there was an award for worst player of the season, I would give it to him just right now. Honestly.
But the real question is, would you be gay for Larry?
Oh, Larry. That's an old
absolutely.
face. Of course.
Absolutely.
Do we get MPC
He's one of my
Champions
real life
role?
homies.
Oh,
Of
what
course.
I like the cockiness here from Nikolai. If you manage to pull out a win in the league, like you will be awarded with a role.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
gotta
So
make it happen
if you notice in our server, we have a we have our season 1 champions have a special role, so we will also give that to season 2 champions.
Yeah, so like you're right now, if you go into the Discord and you click on Blitz's name, you'll see that he has MPC Season 1 National Champion.
Yeah. So we will also give that to season 2, and we will give that to every person on that team. So
Doesn't matter if you
manager,
play or not.
yeah, manager, player, coach, anyone who is on that roster when they win, we will give the role to. So that's Do I have to change? Well, actually, we'll talk to you about that. Because
Yeah, we'll take
we'll talk to
need
you
to have
about
a
it.
discussion.
if you cannot tell already.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, my friend. Because I'm erring on the side of yes. Just because like it's. I mean, yeah, it's anyway. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
I feel dirty.
Thing really goes.
Which manager is Atlas Sim for? I don't know, dude. You gotta ask Atlas. You gotta ask Atlas for that one. So for any of you curious, I guess we kind of touched on this when we were talking about like players and drafts and games and stuff like that. Basically, we touched on it throughout the entire podcast. But as you guys know, if you read the rule book, which I hope all of you did, big smile. I hope all of you read it.
Holding a knife slightly in his hand.
Yes, holding a knife slightly in my hand. I hope all of you
Crazy
at least
eyes.
skimmed through the rule book. If you would know then that we have a mid-season tournament this year. Wow. Mid-season tournament.
Yes.
Crazy. And there's actually incentive to play in it. We are giving you guys wins. It's crazy. I know,
Whoa.
crazy stuff. However, you need to make sure that your team actually qualifies, because that would be a shame if you're number one in the league and your team can't qualify because you didn't read the rules. So, so I will say, make sure you skim over the rule book. If you are a current player, coach, manager, whatever, please skim over the rule book. That way, when you have to ask us a question about a rule that's like clearly stated in the rule book, you don't have to ask us.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and set it straight right now, honestly, Viper. So like right now is the mid-season tournament, as you guys know. Is going to be a tournament in the mid-season. Who would have thought? Wow. Is it two games per player that we agreed on? Or
It is
one?
in the rule book.
It is in the rule book. But look, I have a chicken nugget in my mouth right now, but I will say this right now. Okay? In order to qualify for the mid-season tournament, every single player on a roster must have played 2 games at least before the mid-season tournament starts. So everybody on a team, if you're trying to play in the mid-season tournament, each player on your roster has to play 2 games. If I'm remembering that wrong, then I'm gonna feel really stupid.
Exactly. I was like, is it 1 or 2?
Which is why which is a good reason you should read the rule books. You don't look stupid like me if I'm wrong.
I'm not going to say I disagree or agree on that statement, but just read the rule book, guys, like he is saying. But yeah, so Viper, what is the incentive to play in this season?
What'd you say?
I swear to God, if you say it's in the rule book, I said, what is the incentive to play in the mid-season tournament?
Oh, the incentive. Well,
Yes.
we make it very clear that we are a non-profit tournament. We make $0. I'm holding a 0 up to my eye right now. It's $0. We make no money from this. However, like any money that the stream earns will directly go back into the stream itself, or it will go into improving the server. All of our staff are completely volunteer, and like we literally cannot thank them enough for all the work they've done so far. Like,
Yeah,
holy crap.
I don't get paid to deal with your guys' bullshit. Okay. Just
Oh,
know that.
yes. So, let me see.
Wait, you guys
Do
aren't
we
getting
have it?
paid?
Wait,
Yeah.
we're getting paid for this?
Yeah, so, oh my gosh, I can't spell.
Octa's like, I own the league. Why am I not getting paid?
No, yes, so to clarify for you guys, because we were talking about, is it 1 game, is it 2 games? It is a minimum of 2 games, or 2 series. Let me make that clear, because if I say it on stream, someone's going to clip it. 2 series, that means they need to play in a whole series. They cannot play for 1 game and then you sub them out. They must play for 2 full series, I guess. 2. 1, 2. So, our series best of 5, yes. The only exceptions to that rule are going to be the semifinals and finals of the mid-season tournaments, and then the semifinals and finals of nationals. So, but that's pretty much the biggest thing I wanted to touch on, because that's like kind of coming soon. So
Yeah, well,
Also-
so, like,
also-
it's like some of you guys are thinking to yourselves like 2 games, and like I have like 2 Diamond 2s on my team. That's gonna be rough. Well,
That's what you signed
It
up for,
just-
buddy.
one that, but it also shows that you guys like you might have your main roster, right? When we made this rule, we were thinking to ourselves like,
we heavily debated on this rule. Let me tell y'all,
Yes.
the discussions we had on this rule was crazy.
Yes, it was.
This is probably the most debated rule we had, or the change we had.
Yes, it was. But like we wanted everybody to play. We didn't want like oh yeah, I got on a team, but I've only played 1 game the whole entire season, right? We wanted to make there be an incentive to put your other people in, right? So if you want to play in the mid-season tournament or get like I don't even know what the rewards are, if they all get a reward for it are, but if you guys want to play in it, it's just like make sure to get the games in for everybody. It's 4 weeks until mid-season tournament, so you have enough time. Is it 4 weeks? Or am I just retarded?
It's 6. It's 6. 6 and then mid-season tournament and then the
I
final.
guess I'm stupid because nobody's answering. But yeah.
6.
It's
It's 6.
five.
6. 6. 6. 6.
It's
It's 6.
Yeah, because I remember that we were thinking about adding
it's 6.
that thing.
It's 6 weeks and then the mid-season tournament and then 6 more weeks and then the final playoff nationals tournament.
Yeah.
FYI.
There you
But,
go.
like I was saying, there's plenty of time for everybody to get your games in, but this also like gives your other players a chance to be put into the game, and it also gives you a chance to look at your players and see how well they play together. Like, yeah, you might do it in scrims, but you need scrims and like an actual game are like completely 2 different things, because in a scrim some people don't get nervous, they might play it like a lot better in a scrim, or they might not. But if they play in an actual game, they might play a lot better, or they might not. It's just a way so everybody can get some games in and basically show their worth on the team.
Yeah. And the reason why, so people are going to be like, why is this rule in place? Well, we noticed last season that even though there was like a roster limit of 5, there was no incentive to take more than 3 players, because like you didn't have to play your 4th. So once you got your 3, the 4th was kind of just left to, on the side. Like, this isn't RLCS. Like, we don't want it to be like you just pick up a sub and then you never play them. Like, you need to play all your players. That's kind of the whole point. Like, we want every single player that's on a team to get game experience. We want them to be able to play in that kind of environment. We want them to learn. So that's what I'll say on that. If you guys have any more questions about like mid-season tournament and stuff, I guarantee you 99% of the questions you have can be answered in the rulebook. So again, I'm gonna say it. Please skip through it, because
We're going to make a rulebook emote. Don't worry, boys.
that will save so much time. Also, if you guys are interested, there's a very extensive punishment list in the rulebook too. So,
Holds the knife slightly in hand again.
will there be ringers like last season? So about ringers, we talked about this too. We are going to be a lot stricter on ringers than we were last year, because games are going to be at set times this season. Like, there's little players should have known what they were signing up for when they signed up, because the rulebook's been there, right? And the schedule's been there. So we're going to be a lot stricter on ringers. Ringers are like emergency subs. Kuko.
Yeah, just to make it more clear, emergency ringers are allowed only if the team can't field the 3-man roster. So say if one of your starting guys can't make it, but one of your subs is available, you have to put your sub in no matter what. But
Yes.
in the event that like your starter player is missing and like your sub is like out at like a funeral or something, then that's the event where you can find a ringer that has the same salary or like the same SR or less.
Yes, you can get a ringer that is of equal value to the person you're replacing, or lower. You cannot go higher. There is 100% no exception to this rule. Like, I don't care if you can't field. Like, if there's something extreme, you can talk about it with staff, and we can talk about it. But like, I'm 99% sure we're not going to get to that point. But yes, like we're cracking down on ringers a lot harder than we did last season, because you guys had a lot more time to scout. Players had a lot more time to read the rulebook. Understand that there's a schedule. Like, got to plan for this stuff. Like, this is something you got to be committed to. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you got to know what you're signing up for, basically.
So please make sure when you say you can play, you can be there.
Yes, please. Oh my
Because
gosh.
otherwise, you're just gonna have to take the L.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And we really don't want to do that if we don't have to. Like, I really don't want to force forfeits, especially in like early weeks, because
They
that
are
is the worst feeling.
super detrimental.
Yeah, you literally, if you forfeit a game, you get a 3-0 loss. So it's gonna hurt you bad. It's gonna hurt you real bad. So
Yeah, I saw a
just keep
couple
that
of
in mind.
questions in the chat for me. One was from Iceman saying, "Blue, do you intend on playing or being the team manager for 2 teams again?" No, I do not. But if the situation arises, I guess we could talk about it.
I see. I'm hoping that due to our increased vetting process, that we won't have situations like what happened last season with teams completely falling apart. Because I trust you guys. So, yeah, I trust you guys.
Walrus, to answer your question, I do want a burger because I actually am very hungry right now.
Okay, so speaking of that, we will end unless anyone in chat has any legitimate questions for us. We can answer them, but if not, then we're gonna finish because we've been going for like an hour now, which is crazy. This
Hour
is
and
way
20
longer than I
minutes.
thought we would go.
Almost an hour and a half, dude. Heck
Yeah. It's not looking like I'm seeing anything. So, couple things. What is this going to look like in the future? So, A, we want this to be a weekly thing. B, guests. So, managers, players, anyone, coaches can be invited. Anyone on a team can be invited onto MPC Overtime. Asking to get on MPC Overtime will not get you on MPC Overtime. I promise.
If anything, it'll get you on a blacklist. Like if you ask, you aren't gonna be ever allowed on the show.
If
Just
you
to let know now.
literally borderline harass us about getting on the show, you will not get on the show. I promise. It doesn't work. People tried it last year.
Yeah, but
doesn't work.
usually with our guests, like we hope to like gravitate towards guests that are like talking points of the league. Like say there's an upset, like say team 12 beats team number 1, like. We're gonna want to invite like a member from Team 12 to come on and talk about like, how did you feel winning against Team blah blah blah, like stuff along those lines. We'll try to keep it relevant.
Exactly. Yeah, we want to keep it relevant. Also, Rebel, if I don't want to be on the show, I should harass. Yes, if you don't want to ever be on the show, you should constantly ask me to be on the show. That's how that works.
Feel free to ping us too. Like just ping us as much as you want about getting on the show. We would really like that. I think.
That will actually get you striked, so don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah,
I lied. Don't actually do that.
I'm not afraid to lay down the hammer if I have to.
Like our staff is in full effect. Like we are going to be enforcing the rulebook to the fullest extent of it. So, yeah, just keep that in mind. So yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Can we not have? Yeah, we're gonna talk about the ice. That was actually something I was talking about earlier today. So we're gonna talk about that. So yeah. Also, finally, for those of you that are still with us, if you would like to help us make this show a weekly reality, please fill out the production application. There's a section on the production application for MPC Overtime host. You don't necessarily have to host. We just need help. Because this is a lot of work for me and Octo to do every week, in addition to everything else we do for the league. So if you would like to help us, please. We always would like more help. And that means you get on the show. So that's my spiel.
And another way to get on the show is send us clips of you guys in match games of like your nuttiest shots. Like I'm not saying like outside of NPC, which I don't know if you guys want that or not, but inside NPC games, like show us some clips. Like if you're tired of staring at this overtime screen with all 12 team logos, no offense, Octo, send us some clips and we'll try to do something with them.
We eventually also want to like put match VODs in the background and stuff like that. That way you guys have something active to watch, like while we're talking. Because it's not always going to be me, Blue, and Relic and Octo. It's not going to be. Hopefully, it's not going to be at least me and Octo every week, because I'd like a break too. I love doing this, but I would like a break.
Yeah.
I'll make the outlines and stuff, but like that's a lot of work for me. It takes a lot of time out of my day to write this stuff up. Believe it or not, it's not all random. There's actually a process. So yeah, that's my feel for MPC Overtime. If you'd like to help us out, the production application is in the applications tab of the server. Any final thoughts, guys? before we close it out.
Even if you just want to help us out with like casting games and stuff and streaming, if you're interested in like
And streaming.
even casting, like not you don't even have to stream, just like casting games and like helping out our production staff, like go ahead and fill out an application. Also, we're looking for streamers because we don't have too many streamers right now, but you know the more the
We need
merrier.
more.
So if you like are able to stream decently on your PC, like fill out an application or like I don't mind
Let
getting
us
PM
know.
personally, like just let me know, like because we are on the lookout for streamers and stuff, and you'll be able to
We'll
stream on
let you
your own.
stream on your own
yeah, you
channel.
stream on your own
Yeah.
channel. You'll get all the viewers that you would usually get like from our games. and-
Self-promotion.
Yeah, you get like you can get like your path to affiliate or partner or whatever the hell you're looking for. You know, just
We'll give you our stream assets, the ones we use that you
Yep.
guys saw today. Boom. Transitions,
But
stuff
yeah.
like that. So please apply. Any final thoughts, Relic?
Honestly, I'm just excited to get this season underway.
Say
I'm so excited to get it started.
All right, Blue, you echoing that thought?
dude, I am ready. I'm ready for this weekend.
I think we
All
all
right.
are. But yeah, I think that
Yeah.
that about wraps it up. No.
Yeah, I think that wraps
Yeah.
it up. Thank you guys so much for staying with us. I know this was a pretty long episode. This went longer than we thought, but we got a lot of stuff done. Hopefully we answered some of your questions. And yeah, so if you guys think of anything else, just message our mod mail bot. It's probably the quickest way to reach us. Stuff like that. So yeah, thank you guys so much, and we will see you guys next week for another episode after the first week of games.
Yeah. Adios. See you then.
Adios, boys.
Thanks, everyone.
Goodbye.